Welcome back to Classic Car Cave. So I put up a little bit of footage that I got at the NEC, the Classic Car Show. Unfortunately, it isn't very much. It's just a few minutes, to be honest. On the Saturday, it was absolutely mobbed, and there was people crawling over the cars. It was near impossible to get to them and look at them. So I think if I ever go again, I will try and go on the Friday, possibly, or maybe even the press day, if it's possible, or the Sunday, because I've seen a video today of the Sunday and it looked a lot quieter, but the Saturday I wouldn't do again. Anyway, that being said, I did manage, made a bit of a beeline. I went with Paul Jeffries from Classic Mini Garage. I said that wrong last time. Classic Mini Garage, that's his channel. And I made a beeline for the Jaguar people. And there was an XK150 drop head coupe. This is a Roadster. The drop head coupe is the one where the hood actually sits on the back of the tonneau. This one, the hood on this, you pull the seats forward and it drops down, and the rear deck is completely clear, and it looks. I think they look much nicer. I think it's the nicest one of the three models. Anyway, I went over because we've been having some trouble with this chrome. You can see it's all in now, but one of the problems is this hockey stick piece here. And when I looked at the one that they had for sale, or they had on the stand, it was Twyford Moors, and they put some kind of black tiger seal or some kind of black hardening gunk in here, and then it had been cleaned off. And I noticed on the it was a right-hand drive car, and I noticed on the right-hand side there was quite a big gap, and on this side it was much better. And now whether we need to we've put it on now, it's only a few screws to take it off, and whether we need to twist it a little bit more, or we put this seal into it and then clamp it in some way, but where we clamp it I don't know. I mean, I've heard stories of E-types with fixed head coupes where they've put it next to a wall and put the sealant in, and then used I don't know, like a broom handle, and shoved it against the wall and then to push this in. But it seems very, very tight there, so it's something we're going to have to look at. They're on just now, but the one on the other side needs a lot of work. So we'll kind of look at this over a period of time. But the glass is in, the security's in, the bottom chrome is in, which is an absolute pig to get in. And this windscreen we've had to take out, or not take out, but the security strip we've had to take out a few times because of the curvature. We've had to pull it over. It was about 1 mil out, and it was enough not for it to be sticking out on one side. So we've had to adjust it quite a lot. It hasn't been cleaned yet. So I went to Twyford and spoke to the guy and looked at that car, and yeah, trying to get some tips off him. Also in the video you'll see me, I was at the Citroen stand, and I talked to them about this Rossolet that I have, 1934 or 35 Rossolet. The vehicle, or the body and the chassis, is correct, but the engine didn't look right to me. For a 1934 or 36 car, it should have really had a side valve engine with a flat cylinder head where the plugs are directly over the pistons, and this one isn't. And it turns out, after looking at a H van, now these are Citroen vans that are very sought after at the moment. They want to use them for catering vans, for selling coffee out of, or you know, a bit of food, whatever. They're the corrugated ones with a kind of flat nose on them. And that H van came up with in 1946, and it turns out the engine in that is from 1946. So it's one of the very first H van engines that's in that. So it's not the original engine. And as I said, I only got a picture of this GT40 and this Radford Mini, and that was really about it. So I'll put it up. It'll be very short and sweet. And yeah, I apologise, but there are plenty of videos. If you want to look at NEC stuff, I'm sure there are thousands of videos from I don't know how many people went, but I guess it was quite a lot.
Yeah, so this is the GT40 replica that was at the show. I mean, obviously, I looked at it because it was in the Gulf colours, but it's a beautiful car. Um, and for what they were asking for it, I mean, to be honest, if you bought the kit and bought the engine, you probably wouldn't get much change out of that anyway. Obviously, it's got a 66 registration on it, but it is a new car. It's a replica of a GT40, but extremely well done. And there was a bunch of Cobras with it as well. But yeah, really nicely done. Gorgeous looking thing. They seem to be very popular. These GT40s. How hard they are to get through a turf, I don't know, but well done. Absolutely spot on, I have to say. This next clip is this is a wooden picket mini. There was Radford wooden picket, and they de-seamed them in the 60s, and hence the price, 30 grand. But I think it was an original wooden picket. Well, certainly the interior looked right. Um, yeah, they were a bespoke car. I think people like Ringo and Paul McCartney and people like that had them. You know, I don't know, Jaguar, all these kind of people. It was a really, really nice car, but it was so crowded there. It was so difficult to look at any of these cars. People were crawling over them like ants. So this is something very interesting. This is a company called Magnum that do parts, and they're looking into building aluminium rear subframes for minis, and obviously they're trying to aim at the sports market. But I think that'd be a good investment if the price was right, due to the rust issues that you get. And I talked to the guy, and we could keep in contact. So obviously the first thing I did was go straight to this was Twyford Motors. I went to there to have a look at this XK because of the chrome issues we were having. Again, this was the Citroen place, and I went and talked to the guy, and it turned out the engine that I've got in my Citroen is actually from a H van from 1946. So I got a lot of good information.
One other item, well, two items I got at the NEC was this. I needed an RPM, but with a shift light on it. You can see it's this one here. And there is the gauge. It's bigger than the hole I've got, but it's easier to cut it out than it is to re-put it back in. It can be placed actually on a plinth here if you want. But if you look at the size, and it's programmable, if you look at the size of that shift light, that's going to be spot on. So there's that. What surprised me, that was £45. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, so that's one. And the other thing I bought, oh yeah, this was strange. Look at this. There's a company there called Turner Classics Restoration and Servicing. They had a beautiful fixed head coupe, which they had mirrors under, and it had the same exhaust system and everything underneath. And I have to say, it was beautifully done. But I'd also like to add that the bottom of my E-Type, you could eat your dinner off as well, and that's done 8,000 kilometres. So this is another thing that I bought. Excuse the mess on the desk. Now this looks a bit weird. This is actually a valve spring compressor. Now the normal ones have vice grips on them, and the arms can be quite fragile and they can spring off and so on and so forth. Now this is a real basic one, and what you've got is different ones for different valves or for different valve stems, and it's mechanical obviously, so you have to screw it into place. You know, so it's a bit more kind of holding things in place, so it's not quite as easy to do it with one hand. But what you've got about this is it's more steady because it's got a permanent grip on it, and it's easier to get the collets out from the springs. But what the other thing is good about this is I could actually use this for pushing in bushes or pulling out bushes. So I was looking at it as more of a multi-purpose tool. It's quite heavy and good threads on it. It's got a heavy bit of kit, and yeah, so I think I can use that multi-purpose rather than just one job. It's not that often you need a valve spring compressor, so I thought that's what I'd do with it. So I'm quite happy with that. And it was 20 quid. What can you say?